how the turntables.
Oh, how the turntables. I didn't even watch The Office, and I still get that reference. Hi, everybody. Rouse Twice. I'm back here for your update on what went on at that E3 panel. We're going to get more information at Comic-Con, but we got a significant amount of information. Not too crazy, but enough to go, damn. And the title of the video, Ultimis is in Classified, which is the 5 map that takes place before we actually see 5 in Black Ops 1. A distinct point that was made during this panel with Jason Blundell, the head of animation, the head of sound. Brian Tooney's the head of sound. I've known him for years. I am not familiar with the head of animation. I believe his name was Adam. It's awesome to see more and more developers, and I really have to say, this is what you guys don't get to see, and I hope there's more and more of you meeting the team of these people that make it, because when you actually go there and meet the people, and then you come back, you have such a better understanding for how it works, and the things to really criticize are much different than what fans normally criticize, and I think it humanizes Treyarch in a way that's much better for the company and for us as fans. So, like, you don't have the privilege I have of actually getting to meet them and talk to them. So you don't, when you hear me say positive things, it's just like, you Activision loving mother. But it's not. It's much different when you actually meet the people who make it. There's something special to me about the idea that they just think about this and then they make it a reality. Just try yourself to code anything, to make a game. Try to have an idea in your head and make it a reality like they do in Call of Duty, and you might begin to understand how difficult it is to create something as good as Call of Duty is. It's riddled with issues, but it takes hundreds of people to make something at least that much, at least as good as Call of Duty. And there's a lot of talented people, and it's only, like, as you say, it's not that good. Imagine you trying to do that. To be fair, we're not all game designers, and as fans, you have a right to want more. Anyway, soapbox over for the panel. We have new Vapor mechanics. For the first time ever, we can choose guns and equipment and a specialty weapon.
I thought I'd mention a couple of new mechanics or twists on mechanics that
Tell
the
us
audience
more.
might find interesting. So for the first time, we're going to give a choice for your starting weapon. So you get to select your starting weapon before you start the map. You'll also be able to select your own special equipment as well to kind of go into the map before you start.
For everything.
For everything. Wow. And then you'll also be able to select your special weapon, which you'll be able to upgrade and move through as you're kind of playing the game. And then as a final point,
Yes.
you'll also be able to choose your, what we're calling perk vapors, of which there'll be over 10 different kind of perk vapors, and you'll be able to assign them into the world. So rather than having your kind of perk machines just kind of static and staying there, now players will be able to kind of choose what combination of things and how to set it up into the map to change the way the map is played and what abilities and skills they can then have.
Now, some people have said that could be the wonder weapons, but I might even think it's like what we've seen in the promotional art, that your characters can bring in a special sword or a mythic item you get from other maps. It's a beautiful way to have rewards inside maps that you can bring into new maps as starting loadout weapons that you can upgrade in addition to the wonder weapons specific to the map. The perk vapors work as a way that you can customize the amount of perks that show up inside the map. That way you can build your own advantage to trying to solve and play these maps. I think that was very interesting. As well as the customability of your equipment and starting weapon is more a World War II zombie method than what we've ever seen in Treyarch Zombies. We're seeing huge departures from what we know in Zombies, what was safe. This is going to be a drastically different game. People are going to hate this, and people are going to love this, by far. This is definitely going to polarize the zombie community going forward. But I imagine the larger majority will be polarized in a positive direction just based off of what they're telling us. But let me see gameplay, and then we can finally see if it's going to be a mess or not this year. Comic-Con is the next big announcement date, which should be happening July 19th through the 22nd. There's a lot to look forward because that's apparently going to be the big reveal. We're probably going to get our trailers for Classified, for Blood of the Dead, and we'll get whatever information is left, plus probably the announcement of the super special collector's edition that'll be $200. With all this said, I still have my issues with the season pass and how the game's developed, but this is exciting news for zombie fans to get a little more what the game mode is going to shape up to be. And now we have the Ultimis crew, the Primus crew, and the new crew. Damn. We haven't eat my words, and I'm happy to eat them too. And that's kind of why I leave it open in those videos. Like, as many times as you criticize Treyarch, you have to, right? You can't blindly just love anything in this world. I believe that is the easiest way to be manipulated or to be taken advantage of. So you have to lay out your criticisms and your worries, and then it gives Treyarch an opportunity to come back at you. I really don't like 5 the map, and I'm still a bit concerned for how it'll play, but they hit me on the nostalgia stuff. They've hit me with my favorite crew of all time, and someone asked, why are they so special? Not only have they started it, but they were more than premise, right? Me and my friend Ryan, he's my best friend in all the world, and through high school we would create stories and joke and dissect the storyline. Everything that was interesting about zombies came from them, and that created something special personally to me, and that's why I love them so much. Looking back, people can say, oh, they're ridiculous, they're over the top, but it didn't even seem as over the top back then, especially in a much different culture than we are today. It was fun to hear them just let loose and go crazy, something that we could really use in this day and age. I'm ecstatic that Ultimis is coming back, and we're going to see how 5 comes to be, as Jason put it.
Well, it's going to be based in the Pentagon. Which crew then?
Ooh.
Which one? Okay, let me tell you this one.
Okay.
So it's the original crew.
Wow.
So it's the Ultimis gang. So Black Ops 4 is going to have our premise crew in there,
Yeah.
and also our Ultimis crew and our new gang as well.
Wow.
And that's gonna set up some of the craziness that we saw in 5. You know, why did that happen? How did they get there? All that kind of good stuff. And it's a wonderful style. We're kind of approaching it in a very unique way artistically.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But it also kind of...
Now, with that said, they can still play around with everything. They made a point that even Voyage of Despair and 9 aren't necessarily linear in how the timeline's unfolding, and we have to piece it together. He's challenged us as a community to figure out what the actual order of events are, despite them not being in the correct order of events. We might have 9 in Voyage of Despair, and the next map might be the first map that all of our characters meet. That's how they're approaching this storyline, which I find very interesting.
And so very early on, it was like, let's not keep jamming stuff into a storyline where we know how we want to finish it and where we want to bring it to.
Yeah.
Let's start this new story. But then that's all scary, because now you're starting something that the audience doesn't know, you're going to reveal for the first time. But that fear and that excitement is what drives the team. That's what made zombies in the first place so exciting. It was this feeling of, who knows, you know? Mm-hmm. So for people who are driven by narrative and our kind of storytelling, it's also important not to tell it in order, but for it not to be timey-wimey for the sake of it, if you will.
Yeah.
So Voyage and 9 are 2 key points in the storyline that will be told.
Okay.
But I'm not saying necessarily where they are in that storyline.
So, but it is. So it sounds there is interconnectedness.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's the part that we also want the fans to kind of investigate. So as they're playing, when they're saying about you're not going to get the same line every single time, whoever's next to each other, that's going to allow them to start kind of connecting those threads.
The last couple of notes I have for you guys at 1640 around there in the presentation, negative space is just as important. So Jason was talking about the timeline, and what's happening outside the timeline is just as important than the stuff that is actually happening in the timeline or in game. This was very evident even back in the day when we go from Kino to Ascension. There's a lot going on in between those games. 1950, I just want to point out, Brian Tooney finally said it. I've been saying it for years. Easter eggs aren't Easter eggs anymore. They're main quests. They're functions of the game everyone looks for, but we just call it Easter eggs because that's how it started.
It's kind of that's why we even call the quest line Easter eggs still, even though it's no longer really an Easter egg. But yeah, it's really cool watching the community discuss all these things, and early on websites are springing up, and now there's YouTubers everywhere. It's just amazing to be a part of.
2540, Jason is talking about finishing the Ether storyline. This is it, and this is going to be our send-off for our characters so we can then move on into the new storyline. It's a risk they're taking. to go all in on this new crew early on, but that might be what we need to truly accept them and not still be and have the transit effect. In case you're not familiar with the transit effect, the new crew came, we weren't really into them yet, and we still had the announcers of Maxis and Richtofen, and that old story wasn't wrapped up at all, but we had constant reminders of the old story, and so we said, we don't want these new ones, we want the old stuff, and the game kept saying, like, look at all this awesome old stuff you can't get, and we're not going to talk about, and that frustrated players and definitely drove a lot more hate onto the transit crew. Deserved or not, that's up to you. And there seemed to be a comment, even both from Black Ops 4 reveal and again here, there's going to be skills based on the players, sort of like the specialists. So I'm interested to see how that's going to be implemented into our zombie storyline. Hopefully we'll get more details about that on Comic-Con. So let me know. Are you excited about this? Are you turntabling here? Are you flipping around? Have the tables turned for you on the new 5 pre-order map? I wasn't really interested in it at all, but you got me Ultimis, you got me excited in that sense. Whether or not, just having Ultimis back in any map would have worked, so that doesn't give me quite the free pass on, well, I'm happy it's 5 now. Hopefully Treyarch can make me eat my words, which I love when they do, because then it shows me that needed, hey, you know what you wanted? Well, here's something better than what you could have thought of, and that happens time and time again. It was reiterated in almost every interview that keeps happening with Jason right now, but there needs to be that distance, because if we keep getting what we want, it's just going to be garbage. And this is kind of the excitement. I would never want Ultimis on 5, but maybe this might become one of my favorite experiences yet. I implore you to keep an open mind. I try to keep an open mind, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. Leave a rating, and I will see you in the next video. Bye now.